Want to talk? So let's talk. Here. Talk. You want to talk? You gotta talk. You need to talk. News talk.
I talk, you talk to Solomon. I talk, you talk to Solomon. Yeah, let's talk to Solomon. Talk to Solomon.
You gotta talk.
Welcome back to Talk to Solomon. Thank you for joining us. I'm StanSolomon.
I am Chief Steve Davis.
Former police chief Steve Davis, lawman extraordinaire, served in our military, served in law enforcement, and now at the young age of whatever it is, 25 plus tax, just lives in a high tax state.
That's a big number there.
At any rate, we're just talking about this upcoming election. I think it's worthy of some focus. And one of the things that I think is one of the reasons we need a gal named Jessica Bradshaw, who is the Republican nominee in District 34 in the great state of Texas, who was in a general race with 5 people, finished second, was in a runoff with a well-financed, lifelong Democrat who ran on the Republican side in a Democrat district. She prevailed by 10 points, and now is running against a very rich lawyer, a Democrat that stands for nothing except Democrat. And she's going to win, but she's willing to stand up. She's a small physical person. She's a very attractive mother, wife, a business lady, and she's passionate. In fact, she kind of got her start on Twitter, and a lot of people were following her, thousands. And then she came on our program, and a lot of people saw her and were very impressed by her, and then she decided to try and do something, and now she's going to go to Congress. Now, here's something that has nothing to do with the state of Texas. In the state of Virginia, an organization, see if I can get the name of the organization, it's a Washington, D.C. group that the Voter Participation Center, a Washington, D.C. group, a Democrat front group, sent out several 100,000 registrations to people, the most of whom were either dead or didn't exist or were pets or whatever, with the idea that you could just sign this and you'd be registered, and somebody'd have to catch on to the fact that this was a dead person, a non-existent person, a fictional person, an animal, whatever. And the Virginia Board of Elections has decided not, let me read it, Virginia won't further probe charges of illegal voter registration. Why the hell not, Chief?
They must like illegal voting practices, and they must want, the Democrats, time and time again, cheat in elections. They lie, they cheat, they steal, and they like you said, they sent these out to dead people, to people that don't really exist, but they don't care about the truth, they don't care about legalities, they only care about getting their way.
The fact is, and Chief has said it many times, quoting David Horowitz, to the Democrats, this is a war to not relent until they have total victory. And to the Republicans and the conservatives, it's a difference of opinion. It's a debate. It's nice people on both sides. You don't hear the other people saying that at all. We're the only ones that equivocate. We're the only ones that, well, equivocate's wrong, the only ones that give the devil his due. These people don't care if dead people vote. They want them to vote as long as they vote for Democrats. They don't care if illegals vote or if illegals come here as long as they vote for Democrats. They are the enemy. And Virginia's under a Republican governor, McDonald. Why aren't they pushing this as far as they can? To me, it's outrageous. To me, it's unacceptable. To me, it's a disappointment. Now, have you heard the latest ad, Chief?
Well, probably. Which one are you talking about?
The Democrats have put out, not the Democrats, as an advocacy group, one of the super PACs. And that's fine. The super PACs are out there. But these super PACs, one of them, for the Democrats, put out an ad where they have this guy. All right, picture this. This guy says, oh, man, I'm so horribly, terribly unhappy. Well, why, Mr. Schmuckaputz? Oh, well, I worked for a steel company. And Bain Capital, that evil company, under Romney, that evil guy, bought our failing steel mill and closed it down. When did this happen? Well, this happened in 2001. Oh, okay. Didn't Romney leave in 1999? I mean, he wasn't even there. Oh, well, his name was still on the masthead. Okay. All right. Well, what happened? Well, when they closed the mill, I couldn't afford insurance. And I lost my insurance because the mill was giving me insurance. Didn't you say the mill was failing? Yes. And the mill closed? Yes. And if Bain hadn't bought them, would the mill still have closed? Yes. But they bought them, and it's Romney's fault. So then what happened? Well, 5 years later, my wife wasn't feeling good, and we went to the doctor. Well, did you have health insurance? No. Well, if she could go to the doctor 5 years later when she wasn't feeling good, why couldn't she go to the doctor 5 years earlier when she wasn't feeling good? If you didn't have any money, could you have gotten Medicaid, welfare? They give that to poor people. Well, we weren't that poor. Oh, okay, sorry. So she went to the doctor 5 years later, and they discovered that she had stage 4 cancer. Stage 4 cancer. And she died 21 days later. So she went to the doctor, and 21 days later, tragically, she died. And that's whose fault? That's Romney's fault. Because if he hadn't bought the mill that was failing, and he hadn't closed the mill that was going to close anyway, I would have had health insurance, assuming the mill didn't close, and my wife would have gone to the doctor sooner. Well, wait a minute. Didn't you just say you didn't have health insurance, your wife went to the doctor? Why didn't you go to the doctor? Oh, well, that's not relevant. All right. So here's the bottom line. Because Bain Capital, where Romney was no longer involved, other than his name was on the masthead, bought a failing mill and couldn't save it, and they closed because they were going to close anyway, and you decided not to buy health insurance because you said you weren't poor enough to qualify for free health insurance, that your wife didn't go to the doctor, and when she did go to the doctor, they found she had stage 4 cancer, and therefore it's Romney's fault, right? You got it. And I'm so unhappy. Okay.
Well, I think in the last several weeks, we've really been exposed to the true philosophical beliefs of Barack Obama. And he's not the only one. There are people in this country that really believe that socialism is a good thing and capitalism is a bad thing, and they want to destroy capitalism and take that money and spread it around to other people. And so when we work for our money, the government, like people like Barack Obama, believe it's their money, and they want to take it away from us and spread it around. So and also Americans are we're generally a very compassionate people, very loving people, and so this ad really just preys on our natural compassion and instincts. We don't want to see people that die of cancer or have problems, but they want to blame a business when it's not the business's fault. It's the problem of regulations, of the free market, where government is strangling companies, strangling insurance companies, not allowing them to produce their goods more efficiently and effectively on their own, where they could offer insurance to people that need it and have the money to pay for it. But again, like you said, if they have no money, they can rely on the government. And I think most Americans would not want anyone to have to die of cancer if they're broke. I'd be willing to chip in something to help those people out. But again, what the government has done on top of that too is they've stifled charities. There are many charitable hospitals that would give these services, but they're stifled now because the people can't give the money because they're taxed so much, regulated so much that they can't get the money or a job to pay to give money to the charities that would help them on top of that. But this, to me, is an example of the true ideological beliefs of Barack Obama and people like him, where they want to destroy capitalism and replace it with communism and socialism in this country. And they want to do it by taking our money from the hardworking people that we are and spread it around to other people that don't work, or try and make everything equal when it's not designed to be that way.
Wait a minute. They want to take our money, steal 85% of it, and spread the remaining 15% among other people.
Right. They'll waste it all. It'll all be wasted. It won't be evenly
Stolen.
shared.
Not just wasted.
Right.
Stolen. Stolen. That's how Harry Reid and all these other people become super rich, and all these Democrat liberals are super rich. They're all billionaires. Not all, but many of them. How if they're against capitalism, how come they're billionaires? It's because...
Well, they're liars.
They're liars, exactly. Now, let's back up. We got poor Schmojo, who's, instead of going out and getting another job, starting a business so he could take care of his wife, just said, whoa, woe is me. And you remember that group I told you? Thumb in their mouth, one in their butt. Every 15 minutes they change thumbs. All right, he's one of those guys. Now, what would Obama the Savior, the chosen one, what would he have done for poor Joe Schmo? He'd have fined him for not having health insurance.
Exactly.
Right?
It's a law. He has to have health
He'd have
insurance.
fined him.
And the wife, too.
Jeez. Louise.
Well, that's right. We've been corrected by the staff. It's not a, it's a tax. The Supreme Court has said it's a tax.
Not a fine. It's a fine tax.
And it's a tax for something that they haven't done. Not for something.
It's a fine tax as opposed to a not so fine tax. Okay.
But you know what? I'm going to bring up one more thing, too. Some people have now talked about Robin Hood. I've heard a story recently.
Yeah, Romney Hood, they call it.
Okay, but Robin Hood was a thief. He stole money that didn't belong to him and gave it to people that did not work for that. But in that story, the people he was stealing from was an oppressive government that it wasn't a business. It was an oppressive government that did that to the people and were starving the people.
Whoa.
But
you got the story off a little bit. He stole back the money these people had taken from the people and gave them back their own money. There was no giving money to people that didn't work for it. The government there would come and take your chickens, take your cow, and rape your daughter, and then leave you with nothing, even though you worked, and they live fat, dumb and happy. He was stealing back the money that they stole from the people and giving them back their own money. That's dramatically different.
Thank you for that correction, but the story we always hear is that Robin Hood stole from the rich and gave to the poor, and you've just described that that's not what happened. He took back the money that the oppressive government took from the people in the first place to give it back to the people that
gave them
earned
back their own money.
But in the case of current day times, Barack Obama and crew, they were trying to steal the money from private businesses and from us, not from an oppressive government that took it from us in the first place.
To give it not to the poor, but to give it to their friends. Every time someone says, I want to jump up, of course I jump up and down a lot. Most goes, he's sticking a pin in me. Listen, government is a scam. Not everyone in government, and not every local government, but here's the reality. If you, listen to this, if you take all the money that is taken through taxes, fees, whatever they come up with, fine taxes, if you take all of those things and add them up and divide them by the number of people that exist, that pay anything, that number is a six-figure number. The last time it was done was like 104,000. If you take all the people that get anything from government, no matter what they get it for, and divide that up by the number of people that get something, take the total amount that people get and divide it by the total amount of people, it's less than 20,000. 80+% of the money is taken from us and never goes to anyone that's receiving. It only goes to government hacks, government employees, government special advisors, government whatever. It's, government trips like the what is it? General Services. Yeah.
GSA.
The fact is, listen to me, if my friend Steve wants $1, I'm not giving him a dime, but somebody here would give him $1. Let's say Paul would give him $1. He ends up with, ready? $1. Paul takes $1 out of his pocket, Steve gets $1. But if Steve needs $1, the government needs to take not $1, but it needs to take $10 in order to have $1 left to give to Steve. Because they steal, use, waste, abuse, whatever the hell they do. We have, and this is, by the way, is not unique to our government, although our government's better at it than most. Government is the most ineffective, inefficient way of getting anything done, and that is why the less government does, the better the people are. That's why our founding fathers said government is a necessary
evil.
Bingo. It should have said government is a necessary but disingenuous, dishonest, inefficient evil. They'd be closer. I think I'm going to rewrite the Constitution and put that in there. All right. Bernanke. He is the chairman of the Fed. He's also an idiot. A former professor that's never lived in the real world and hasn't a clue, and he's managed to help Obama make change. Yes, we can. We've changed this from a prosperous country to a less than prosperous country. We've changed it from a free country to a less free country. We've changed it from a country that was moving forward in relations between people to a country that's moving backward. Yes, we can. Thank you, President Obama. At any rate, he says there are signs of recovery, but people continue to struggle. Have you ever seen one of those? You're driving down the road and your car falls in a hole and you can't even see the earth anymore. You're so far down. But you climb out of the hole and there's a sign saying, rough road. Yeah. It usually says rough road ahead. In this case, it says rough road behind. Anyone that looks at our economy, where we have in real numbers more than 20% unemployment, where we have more than 1 million fewer people working now than were working 3.5 years ago. Yeah. When our country is going backwards, when our ability to create jobs is going backwards, when we have a government that's demanding more and giving less and sticking its nose and attacking anyone that doesn't agree with it, yeah, well, we have a government that is instituting programs to kill people like Fast and Furious, and no one will say anything. It just well, I'll let you speak, so I don't get in trouble.
And we have politicians on both sides of the aisle, Democrats and Republicans, that have voted to borrow money from other countries like China in particular so that they can spend it today even though our grandchildren have to pay it back. If anything should be a crime, that should be a crime, because they should have no, they spend a few years in office and they put our children and grandchildren in debt, and then they're gone, they've created a big mess, and away they go.
By the way, there should be no profiting from being in office, no pension when you leave office. That's nonsense.
Nonsense.
All right. Except for Jessica, who will do a good job.
She doesn't need a pension.
All right, because she works. She's always worked hard. Her husband works hard. She's a quality person.
And I didn't mean that. I meant she doesn't need a pension from being a congresswoman.
That's it. Let me ask you, if you remember, Steve, what was the price of gas when Barack Obama raised his right hand and placed it on the Koran and took the oath of office?
It was, I think, around $1.80 or so, somewhere around right there.
$1.78, excellent, great. Now, this is a secret. How much is gas today?
The nationwide average price is, I think, $3.20.
I think it's much higher than that. I think right now it's around $3.60. It's jumped in the last week. It jumped way up. Every place I've looked, gas is either $3.69, $3.79, $3.89. In some cases, I saw on my Facebook where people posting where it's over $4 in places. Now it's cheaper in the South. We know all that. Listen to this news flash. Republicans prepare to jump on increasing gas prices. No Obama, Sherlock. You think? We've cut down production offshore on one thing that was done by a British company that was outrageous and egregious, but wasn't the normal way of doing things. 99%, never a problem. 0.1% a problem one time, and they use it as a reason. They're attacking all of our oil production. They're cutting down coal fired. India's grid just crashed. 700 million people, half the people in India. 20% of all the people on Earth, 11% of all the people on Earth without electricity. Why? Because India decided to stop using coal. Somewhat, not always. They cut back by 10% and their grid crashed. Now, what do you think is going to happen, folks, in 2-3 more years? You think gas is going to go up or down? Obama wants it at $9 a gallon, so you'll buy an electric vehicle. But listen to this. If we stop using coal, and they're going to try and close down all the coal plants, you know what electricity is going to cost? 10 times what it costs today. You know what it's going to cost you to charge up your electric car that'll go around the block and then need to be recharged? As much as it does to put in gas. What will you have saved? Nothing. What will have happened to your mobility? It's gone.
Well, this is just their philosophical approach. This is their utopia that they want to have happen. They do not care about who it's going to destroy or what's going to happen. But let's talk about some of the things that they've said. First, one thing they said, we don't need to approve any more offshore drilling because you won't get any results for 10 years.
They've been saying that for 20
But that's like saying, don't send your kids to school because they can't graduate from high school for 10 or 12 years. So why start that now? It's just preposterous. But they are on a mission to destroy gasoline, and in this country they want us, like you said, on electricity. But also, there are so many different people that have had some type of a plan to reduce the price of gasoline. But no plan is going to reduce the price of gasoline. It's not going to work. What has to happen is we have to get plans out of the way. Remove the plans, remove the red tape, remove the taxes, remove all of those obstacles, and let companies that drill for oil
increase the supply.
Let them go, and then see what happens. That's the only option that we have that's going to have
you
any kind of...
increase the supply, three things happen. Listen to this. One, you have more oil. Two, the other folks with oil know you're going to have more oil. Do you know what happened when Bush said, we're just going to drill every place? The Arabs cut the price per barrel of oil in half so it wouldn't be economically logical for us to develop our own oil wells. That's what it comes down to. What we need to say is, look, we're going to develop any and every type of energy we have, every kind of oil, every kind of coal, every kind of gas, every kind of steam, every kind of hydroelectric, everything. And we're going to get to the point we don't need to import 1 ounce of oil from anyone, not even from Canada or Mexico.
But that should be done by private industries.
Of course.
Not by the government.
We're just going to take away the restrictions, and you know what will happen? Oil will go from $90 a barrel to $20 a barrel in 2 weeks. You won't have to wait 10 years. They'll say we got to sell them something, because once they have theirs, nobody will buy ours, nobody will need ours, because you know how good America is? Not only will they have enough for themselves, they'll be competing with us in the international market, and we're screwed. We're screwed.
If Barack Obama is reelected, he's going to impose a standard
Moratorium.
that every car has to be able to produce or effectively drive with 54.4 miles per gallon, and every car company says they can't do it. They won't be able to sell cars anymore.
Well, they'll only be able to sell
Electric
sewing
cars.
machines with wheels.
That's exactly what Barack Obama wants. Whether it destroys the nation or not, he doesn't care. He just wants his utopia in place.
I'm going to disagree with you. He does care. He wants the nation destroyed. I'm convinced of it. On that sad note, but we appreciate your time. We're going to wish you good night. Again, I'm StanSolomon.
Chief Steve.
And this is Talk to Solomon. Please tell 100,000 of your closest friends, and we'll see you next week.
Keep the faith.